So one of the most, what I've always said is one of the most offensive things that someone's ever said to me in ministry. And that seems kind of extreme. Like, why would you even think that? But it happens. Even your pastor's family can be offended by things just like you can, because we're regular people. We're still regular people. And so just called with a purpose. And so we were at a church in another state at least 10 years ago. I mean, it's been a long time ago. And so my husband had gotten some advice that said, go talk to any church that calls, sit down and talk with them. And don't just have to pray about it first. Just don't even think about it. Don't do research on them. Don't do any of that, because you can always tell them no, which is true, but looking back, it was bad advice. That's bad advice. This pastor friend of ours was trying to help, and it was bad advice, but that's okay. We lived and we learned, and we got some good stories out of meeting with different people that we probably shouldn't have met with in the first place. But we were meeting with this church. It was in Alabama, and like I said, it was years ago. And sometimes when you meet with the church, they'll want the pastor's wife to come. Sometimes they don't. He's the pastor, I'm the tag along, but we're in it together. And so I don't know which one's right, which one's wrong, but it's probably a good idea to meet your future potential preacher's wife. And so they had called us both, and so they were asking us questions, and by this point we had been there for an extremely long time. And it wasn't a very large church, it was a small rural church, but we had been there for an exceptionally long time. And I mean, to the point where they didn't feed us supper and we were starving. Like, I mean, we've been there for a long time. We had toured the town. It was a lot. And basically the only question they had for me was, this one woman looked at me and said, so how do you feel about being a pastor's wife? And at that time, I had been a minister's wife for several years and a pastor's wife for several years. It was getting close to the 10-year mark. Not quite there, but getting close. So I had done it for a while. And if there was anything at that point I was certain of, was that this was what God had called us to do. God called my husband. By default, he called me. We did not seek this out. This was something that God called us to. We would have never sought this life for ourselves ever in a million years. So, but at this point, I am very invested. We've done this for a long time. They knew this because they already knew about us, the general overview. And so when she asked me how I felt about being a pastor's wife, I was offended. Honestly, I can't even remember what I answered. I think I said it just is who I am. It would be kind of like someone saying, well, how do you feel like being the mother to your 13-year-old kid? What you think about that? Are you still liking it? Are you ready to get rid of the little sucker? No, of course not. It's who you are. And so I don't know if they'd had a bad experience or what, but it just rubbed me the wrong way, and it probably shouldn't have. But I was just so offended. Like, how dare you ask me how I feel about being who I am, who God made me to be. God made me, before I ever had a clue what my life was going to entail, to be a pastor's wife. And now here you are asking me how I really feel about it. It was so offensive and such a silly question. And, if she was wanting to probe and see if I was involved, she should have asked more pointed questions like, what is your role in ministry at your current church? Where do you feel like you have been led to serve the most at your current church? At former churches, where did you serve? What capacity did you minister in? Those kind of things. Not, how do you feel about being, a wife? And how do you feel about being a mother and a pastor's wife? Because it just all to me is one thing. And maybe she just, because she was not in ministry, obviously, that she didn't understand that it's my DNA. It is who I am. It's not like a caterpillar job. It's just who I am. And so that is probably, in my opinion, the most offensive thing, even though maybe it shouldn't have been, but it was probably the most offensive thing you ever said to me. I don't think she meant it like that, but that's how I took it. So anyway, you live and you learn, and now things roll off my back a whole lot easier than stuff did back then. Of course, the older you get, the more stuff just kind of rolls off your back, and it's not a big deal anymore. But thank you so much for watching. I'm April Haynes. I am the Real Life Pastor's Wife. Subscribe and like it below, and leave me any comments. Thanks. Bye.